Adequate notice of this meeting of the Lawrence Township Council being held on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, has been provided through the posting of the annual meeting schedule of said council in accordance with Section 13 of the Open Public Meeting Act. Said notice was forwarded to the Trentonian, the Times, and the Kingston Packet on December 11th. Now, Administration, I would like to first and foremost give recognition and a thank you to honor and remember all of our veterans as we come to the celebration of Memorial Day later this week. We are united in our thanks to all of the fallen, and we always must remember that freedom is never free. As the daughter of a World War II veteran, it is especially an honor to represent my town, so thank you. I'd also, at this time, would like to take a moment to recognize one of our employees' sons passed away today. And our thoughts and prayers are with him and the family. And now, Madam Clerk, if we can have an inspiration.
May we carry out our work at this meeting in a just, honorable, and sincere manner, always bearing in mind our duties and continuing to keep Lawrence a wonderful community in which to live. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Bobbitt?
Here.
Mr. Kanaki?
Here.
Ms. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mayor Farmer?
Here. Okay. At this time, we have a presentation, I believe. Okay.
Yes.
Such presentation. We'll ask for the Lawrence Township Public Schools to come forward. Here. And we have a very long agenda, so we're asking people to keep it to about 15 minutes possible.
10.
10, perfect.
Stretch it.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robin Klim. I'm the superintendent of schools for Lawrence Township. I actually took the seat on September 1, so I'm a very proud superintendent. We've done a lot of work, and I'm standing here with my colleague.
Good evening, I'm Tom Eldridge, I'm the business administrator.
So we're really here tonight. I've never had problems projecting my voice, so I'm just gonna go off mic. We are really here tonight to speak to town council and all of the constituents. And we're so happy to have a crowd because we're doing a lot of work to re-examine the footprint of Lawrence Township Public Schools. So as a lot of you know who may have matriculated through our school system, some of our buildings are reaching their 75th year anniversary. And one of those buildings is Lawrence Middle School. So in a year from now, we'll be looking at plans to celebrate 75 years. Well, what does that mean? That means as our community grows and the needs of our student body increases, we have to kind of reconsider what the footprint looks like, what grade configuration looks like, and what best practices for instructional and curriculum needs. So what we are doing and proposing tomorrow evening, we really wanted to invite you all and just get in front of you to let you know our plans, is we are looking at a concept of redesigning the grade levels across the district. We got the preschool universal grant. So what that means is over the next 5 years, everyone in this township who has a preschooler, a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old is able to attend our schools 4th grade. But what does that mean? That means we have to build out a footprint, right, to kind of support that while we simultaneously plan for the middle school needs. Because as you know, we sort of have a tricky grade level switch with Lawrence Intermediate School. So our proposal and our footprint tomorrow evening in front of the architects will be our site plans will be up and our floor plan for Lawrence Middle School. And what we're hoping to highlight is really the needs and the expansion of this community. It'll move to a 6-8 building for middle school. And of course, high school remains the same. But what we also want to point out is the footprint of that parking lot. You all know that campus. I'm sure you've driven in and out of there, can get pretty hectic. So we have had designed, we've had engineers come out, we've had site engineers, we've had traffic engineers come out and really examine how to do this in a thoughtful way. Again, this is not happening tomorrow. This is a concept that we are looking at from sort of a bird's eye view. But ultimately, the preschoolers would be coming into the 4 elementary schools. So it'll be a pre-K2, LIS becomes a 3-5, middle school becomes a true middle school model, a 6-8, and of course, our high school remains constant. So we will be able to offer a neighborhood preschool program to all of our township constituents. Do you want to add to that, Mr. Eldridge?
This is a big deal. What it does is it brings together the synergy of trying to create appropriate learning spaces and additional learning spaces for our new 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. The 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds essentially represent a 1 grade level before kindergarten and then 1 more before that. So about 2 grade levels is what we would add. So in a sense, we are growing. We applied for the grant, as Dr. Klim said, we received the grant. The state aid for that, and that is an ongoing concern for us. Meaning it's not a concern, it's going to be ongoing. It's part of our foundation budget. This is changing what we do in Lawrence Township. There's been nothing like this in the past 20 years, whereas we're adding 2 more years of schools at the early age. The idea, of course, is focusing on students first more than anything. And so when we add those 2 grade levels, we do have space in the elementary, but only if we push a grade level up. Well, it just so happens to be that the oldest building that we haven't renovated and is in need of renovation is the middle school. So this is an opportune time for us to expand the middle school, renovate what we will, not just build new, but renovate, reuse what we can, and create appropriate learning spaces. And that's for parents who are concerning themselves for sure. We have children who come in and they want to get ahead. So essentially what we've done is we've expanded 2 more years of public school. Some people seek to put it on the end, but if we put it in the beginning, then what we do is we get readiness for our kids. Some of our kids or English language is a second language. It helps them in their readiness for school. It helps the typical student in their readiness for school, which opens up opportunities on the back end, if you think about it, with fewer cases of rework, whether that's through academic support instruction and things of that nature. So we look at this, of course, with an eye and a lens towards our students first. If you're an economically minded person and you think they're first, then you're also thinking it's efficient. When you're at your greatest point of readiness, that's when you'll be with us. So with that, we have the concept that'll be rolled out tomorrow evening. It is a complete strategic plan. This is not something we thought of just recently. We were doing the groundwork. And before Robin even became the superintendent, Pepper Evans was the chair of finance. She's one of our school board members. She was chairing a committee where we were researching these things and already on our way to doing this. With Robin's leadership, Robin came to the district and said, let's do something bold, something that makes a difference, something that really is meaningful for Lawrence Township. And we went forward, and now we have 120 preschoolers in Lawrence Township who don't pay tuition. And for people who live in Lawrence Township and you're a resident here and you're a taxpayer here, this is even a better concept. These dollars come back from the state. And so we're not raising these dollars for preschool through property taxes. So all of New Jersey pays their payroll taxes, and they're collected by the state and they're redistributed to all the various towns in the form of state aid. We get approximately $16,000 per student. That's coming from other towns because we had the initiative to move this ball forward. And so we want to perpetuate this, keep moving forward, and keep Lawrence always ahead, but bring us even higher still in terms of what we do for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Hopefully.
15 minutes?
10 minutes.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
You did it, Nate.
Hey, all right.
Before we move forward, Madam Mayor, may I make a comment?
Absolutely, Councilwoman.
First of all, if there are any questions, I didn't want to interrupt about the presentation.
And you're,
We're fine. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to, first of all, speak in reference to the public safety report that was published on the website. I'm very happy to say that the subcommittee for public safety met at our first meeting recently, and we are reviewing the public safety report, but it's just that, a report. We were charged by council to come up with recommendations. So I know several of you, or some of you may, or no one may come up and make comments on the public safety report, but just know it's a foundation and not the end all to be all, and that we are committed to doing the right thing and the best thing for the township. Thank you.
Well said. I'm sorry, I didn't get to thank Dr. Quinn and Mr. Eldridge for your presentation. As someone who believes very much in education, that's, as you said, it's a very bold and important move for our young people in their development and their investment in early intervention in some instances. So thank you for your presentation. With that, now we will move on to public comment. We ask that if anyone would like to make a comment, that they come to the podium and state them.
Someone's got to be first. Can I put this right here? Can you hear me? That's, all right. Good evening, council. My name is Dr. Jonathan Knights. I live at 23 Sunset Road. I'd like to start with a bit of background about myself. Personally, I'm a husband, a father, and a neighbor to all of you. It's nice to meet you. Professionally, I'm a computational scientist. I'm the head of applied science and data engineering in the health technology sector. I've developed technologies leading to 4 patents and authored more than 25 textbook and peer-reviewed publications in the areas of computer science, pharmacometrics, computational biology, information theory, digital biomarkers, clinical trial design, and statistical genetics, to name a few. A humble introduction, as my wife told me. Now, contrary to my introduction, I did not come to the podium tonight to read highlights from my resume. I came up here tonight, council, because I hear month over month that one of the major roles of our township manager is to get recommendations from experts and provide you with information so that you can make a decision. You are the accountable elected officials, and I believe that. Although I've never been personally consulted by the township manager, I hope my introduction is sufficient to establish myself as an expert in the design, analysis, and interpretation of data. It's now time to pivot to the fire studies. These have been the topic of conversation the past many months. And as a side note, thank you to all of our first responders, if they're in here or online. You truly are heroes, and if you ever see me in Starbucks or a cafe, please don't hesitate to introduce yourself. I would love to buy you a coffee for all you do for our town. Public safety should be our primary concern. Strengthening and future-proofing our first responder infrastructure should be paramount. The reports we have been discussing are supposed to serve as the foundation for such a plan. However, I stand up here tonight as an expert to ensure that the record demonstrates that the treatment of our data has never once addressed how population growth and commercial development influences emerging areas of greatest threat to our community. It never once addresses the best location for placement of first responder resources. And from what I can tell, not a single author on any of the reports is a statistician, a scientist, or an analyst. To quote the 2020 report, the scope of this project did not allow for an in-depth study and site selection for a new fire station. Let me repeat that. The scope of this project did not allow for an in-depth study and site selection for a new fire station. A subsequent quote from the 2023 report indicates a location that has been proposed by local officials. I've also read, and I'm happy to share, because it's public record, every email in and out of the township email servers from the original report, and there was never any mention or intention to evaluate optimal locations for our first responders. I'm also up here tonight to ensure that the record demonstrates how other municipalities with a council manager style government just like ours have already paved the way for what a genuine interest in emergency service resource placement should look like. Here. Here you go. In the folder are 5 color copies, and outside of that are 3 black and white color copies. This is a report from Alexandria, Virginia, explicitly addressing optimal location identification for a fire station in their municipality. I've just made these available. And they're publicly available on the internet as well. So while it may be true that some experts have been consulted to generate summary reports of our first responder data, there's been no objective analysis or mention of, at least from what I've read, how our plan actually prepares us for the future, how our plan aligns with patterns and trends. Rather, both reports explicitly and implicitly state that there has been no objective evaluation of such questions. If you are not aware of such gaps in the scope of our analyses or in the panel of experts generating those analyses, you are now. And as our manager reminds us, as elected officials, the accountability of what to do with that information now falls to you. For what it's worth, I'm here as a neighbor and a resource. Thank you for your time.
My name is Ronnie Mackles. The 2020 study was written with a predetermined conclusion. We know about the relationships in the absence of an RFP. We also know that no one from the team had the right qualifications to decide how we should spend $20 to $30 million. The data analysis is garbage. If you look at page 105 of the report, a geographical center of Township is recommended. Why? I could have come up with that proposal in about 2 seconds for free. Rider students would be volunteer firefighters. Really? That's the best that anybody could come up with? Then there's the Shirley Turner grant. There are 8 references to 1252 Lawrence Road, 0 references to the corner of West Long Drive. Who and how was it decided that 1252 could and should be moved to our corner? The Cotter Strategies report on page 14 states, a location has been proposed by local officials. Could I see a show of hands who proposed that? Raise your hand if you were involved in that decision. I don't see any hands, so I'm just not sure how that happened. So is the report totally bogus, or is anybody just afraid to raise their hand? Okay, so you're all witnesses here, the YouTube is going. The Cotter report states that a location has been proposed by local officials, but these are all of the local officials, and nobody is saying that they have been involved in the West Lawn location of the firehouse. Where is this analysis, and how does it make any sense? When did any of these conversations happen, and why weren't any other locations considered? Now, the 2023 study. When did we change the plan from 1 large campus to 2 firehouses? And now Public Works is included, but a community center is not, because I think I missed those conversations as well. I don't know where I can find any due diligence associated with any of these decisions. I've placed multiple OPA requests. I've been asking a lot of questions. I don't understand how these conversations and these decisions keep surfacing with no background information whatsoever, nothing in writing. We don't know what the paper trail looks like. You just can't find it. Further, we keep hearing beginning stages, but these studies, the 2023 study in particular, is not beginning stages. We want these studies thrown out. And until you say we are done with these studies and we are moving on, we're going to keep coming up here and discrediting you because you own the situation now. We want the Public Safety Committee to start over, clean slate, start over. And we would like monthly progress reports as the Public Safety Committee makes progress towards a new predetermined solution based on legitimate data. Spending $20 to $30 million for a solution based on garbage data is nonsensical, irresponsible, and I cannot imagine that any of you want to tie your reputations to this. So I'm going to ask that question. And you spoke a little bit before about, again, we're beginning stages and, we're going to do the right thing. I would like you to verbally state you're going to throw out these studies and we're starting over with something that's real, something that makes sense, because we're not going to go away until that happens. And this is going to get worse and worse, and it's going to escalate and escalate, and it's going to turn into legal fees and all kinds of other stuff that none of us really want to deal with. So could we please say that we're gonna throw out these studies and move on?
Ronnie, thank you very much for that passionate and informative discussion. As I stated before, we are newly elected to council. We were not part of the decisions that were made, but we are starting from the beginning, looking at all the needs of the town for public safety, to ensure that from staffing to proper location, to all the equipment, the needs, everything that will ensure that our public safety team has all the resources they need to properly service this community, we will evaluate and analyze from the beginning. Thank you.
And
Madam Mayor, may I?
if I could just add one thing, and I think it's not unreasonable to expect a monthly report on what is occurring. As you know, or may not know, we created a subcommittee to specifically look at this in greater detail. As Councilwoman Perrin mentioned, both she and I are new to council, so we're looking at it with fresh eyes, for the first time. And we're engaging members of the community to assist us with this process. So we just ask that you bear with us as we go through all of the information and report out to the public.
May I speak?
Yeah.
Just a point of clarification. The 2020 study was funded by the governing body, I believe in 2017. The purpose of the 2020 study was to study the current state of our fire service in the community, the current state as it existed at that time. We, Lawrence Township, had been behind the 8 ball, behind the times of every other town around us in terms of identifying the volunteer fire service was dissipating in members, and that we would need, as a community, to make difficult decisions and also improve our fire response by adding career service. But there would be a transition period involved where the volunteers and the career would be built back together. That 2020 study, that's the purpose for it. And it set out 38 recommendations for us to follow from absolutely qualified individuals who came in, studied our 3 volunteer fire houses, our volunteer service response, our career response at that time, and the infrastructure that we had in place. And it provided us with a good synopsis of where we stood at that time, and it gave us a game plan to move forward. Those 38 recommendations served as a foundation that we've been working on over the last 4 or 5 years, and we've met 32 of those 38. One of them is to study whether or not consolidation was appropriate for our community. One of them, and it's a big one. A lot of towns are going through the exact same thing that we're going through. They had they were blessed with volunteer firemen who, for almost a century, provided service to their community for free to go into fires and protect the community. That volunteerism doesn't exist that much anymore. And I don't say this to disparage the volunteers that are actively working right now. God bless them. They are an asset to our community, and we value their service. But they can only do so much. You need 4 firemen, 3 firemen to get on an apparatus to respond. The data shows that that's not existing right now in a lot of times. So we need to build our career. And we also need to figure out where we go from here in terms of whether we consolidate. Does it make sense to consolidate? And we need to determine what type of station we could have that could include our EMS and our fire and what that looks like in terms of size, and what's appropriate in terms of building forward into the future, not just building for the present, but building as we grow. And so that means we turn to experts to determine the size of the building, what needs to be involved to comply with federal and state guidelines and compliance issues. And once we have that in mind, then we can look at a location. I'll raise my hand. I think this is the perfect spot. This is right here in our campus. Me personally, I'm not speaking. They're the ones that make the decision. From my viewpoint, that's municipal land to be used for an important public safety municipal purpose. And if we have the technology to build it in a space for our community, our entire community, we should absolutely be looking hard at it. We thought that Lawrence Road was an appropriate spot. As we went through the process, and if we consolidate and have the fire apparatus come and go from that location, well, you know what? One of the elements in the report was it should not be located in high pedestrian traffic areas. I don't know about you, but I see Lawrence Middle School, Lawrence High School, Notre Dame High School kids walking up and down that street during the school all the time. I see St. Anne's. I see Varsity Pizza there and Dunkin' Donuts. It's a high traffic area. So that gives me some concern. I don't want to be a part of a decision that says we can't do it here because we're getting some pushback from local people close by, and then have somebody lose their life or get injured as a result of placing something somewhere else. So this is the study. This, I'm not making. So I'll just conclude by saying this is all a part of our process, and what's in my mind and what we have done along the way is not in the report, but it's involved in our studies.
Okay, thank you,
And so-
Mr. Neal.
Is it in the report or not in the report?
I'm sorry, we cannot have, we can't have yelling from the audience. Any comments that need to be made, you have to please come to the podium. We're gonna have the quorum here, okay? Thank you. Are there any other additional comments from the public for participation?
Good evening. I had more than 5 minutes, but I'll just give you a conclusion.
Okay. Thank you. If we could have your name, sir.
To start building,
Could we have your name, sir, please? Your name? Tell us your
I'm
name.
sorry, my name is Graham Webb. I live just across the street here.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
And this is just, frankly, overall, I'm not interested in property values or things like that. But you're considering building a building over a drainage basin. And it's going to have certain rather peculiar facts, peculiar additions to it. It's going to be very expensive. And on the reports that I think the last one was Cotter, nobody talked about money. And this is my favorite subject. There is thinking of putting an expensive building with museum space and things like that. Very interesting, very nice. Makes the Lawrence Township headquarters look a little more noble, perhaps, a little richer. It doesn't fight the fire. When I look at back, and I'm afraid my figures are somewhat old, the Sackwood and Lawrence Road centers carried the majority of the fire calls. And in Lawrence Road, there's also the EMS doing about I think the figures I had, they're all over 3,000 calls on that. And they're in the highly populated areas, as Mr. Lewinsky has pointed out. But they're also in the fragile areas. We have all the properties closer together, and that's probably why we get more of the calls, or why we did at that time anyway. As I say, I haven't got completely up-to-date figures here. We need to spend money on the sharp end. If you're going to fight fire, get arms to fight fires. The report by Cotter was basically a bunch of platitudes at best. Probably photocopied from the other reports that they make for other communities, very, very similar comments about how nice it would be. But people here, this is going to be a demonstration. If we're building a big building in the center, yes, it will be organization, but it will also be a demonstration of C. Northcote Parkinson's law. Does anybody know what that is?
Please tell us.
I'll Google it.
Work expands to the time and space available. The building will be full of people and all be busy. None of them will be putting out fires. They will all be doing important tasks, and frankly, I thank all of you because this is not always easy to listen to me, but you're doing public service. And you will have a building full of people here, but in the end, you're expecting everything to go down from Phillips Drive to places that at the moment are closer to Stackwood and Lawrence Road and are more populated and where the people really are who need the answer. It seems to be, again, the same somewhat old statistics that the career firemen are much more rapid than the volunteers who, as we've heard, are nevertheless heroes in our midst. But it means putting career firemen close to where the fire is, because they're going to put the fire out, not because they're going to be organized right, and not because they're getting a phone. We live in an age where communication is the easiest thing to get. And here we are saying, no, it's much better if we can have everybody down the same corridor. I don't believe it. You're basically greasing the headquarters. You're making the next castle in the sky. Thank you.
Bill Sirhan, 32 West Church. I've lived in the township since '78. Time flies. You know, I wasn't gonna get up, right? Because my neighbors have killed this whole issue of the firehouse and the report. It's a garbage. We all know it. And if you look at it, I made a comment to some friends of mine who were looking at it together. And that is that, all due respect to the doctor, I do work with petabytes of data, right? And one of the things my responsibility to do on a daily basis is work with board members, my board, to present projects, right? And all that based on facts. And what's missing from these reports is fundamental facts. There is no reference material. There is no data. There is no reference to other towns are doing around us. So why is it in the report? Let's kill that for a second. I think we killed it there. I want to talk about why we have no faith anymore in the management in general. I'm not going to call it for people out. First, we came here originally to talk about 3 West Law. Why was that being acquired by the township? And as I remember correctly, it was for 3 people. 3 people spent $750,000 for office space. And I understand they needed the space. No argument there. People need to work in good space. But why are we spending $750,000 for office space with that? And what I heard then at the same time was that, well, we're not going to do ADA changes. We're not going to do anything to do changing the variance as commercial space. At the same time, as I checked, on Franklin Corner, there were 2 offices available for sale. So Why? So now we're asking, well, what was the real rationale behind that decision to spend that kind of money for 3 offices? Let's put that aside. Then we heard about, I think in that meeting one after, was around the traffic light, Bunker Hill. Okay? It was gonna cost $500,000. However, what we heard was, there was a mistake. It was gonna cost $500,000 more, right, to do that traffic light, because it required additional road work. And we're gonna go to Township and Hopewell to split the cost. 4 months later, what we heard was they weren't gonna do it. Now, here's what really caught me. I'm sorry, nobody on the board questions the extra $500,000. Why? That's my question, right? No doubt they need it. Very important. Fact of the matter is, if I'm the manager in Hopewell, and I just build all those homes or didn't build the homes, I'm not thinking of let somebody else pay for it. So it's those type of decisions, right, that worry us. Okay? We do have faith in the council, 100%. Okay? I think we've proved the fact that the reports are really not what this township needs. It's not complete. Yes, it may be a foundation, but what really threw me off was Kevin said, well, the report said, well, there's people in neighborhoods. That's not what he told us originally. What he originally told us was, we don't own the property. That was the rationale to move it here. Go back to the recording. That's what he said. And that has now changed. Okay. Secondly, I got a question. Thank you for pointing out the fact that's been said, population is not taken into consideration for the study. Most of the population is there. So what you're saying is now, you're scared about having fire companies and fire trucks and ambulances come out of that area where they belong, where the population is, but you don't care if they come out from here and go there with the school in the way, the crossings in the way, the buildings in the way, things like that. Again, it's those type of things that sort of worry us and makes that pause, right? One more. It's not what threw me off. Okay? We talked about the Princeton Pike development. Great idea, don't get me wrong, right? Most of us are concerned about the fact that why is the township person, employee doing the presentation, first of all, okay? Secondly, I think we agreed or discussed that would wait until the master plan was done. Was that not the discussion? It was the discussion, okay? Yet, a couple of meetings ago, and here's what we brought. We said, there's a problem, okay? We have issues with schools, no school study. We have issues with police and fire, no police and fire study. Right? We have issues with traffic, no traffic study. But beyond all that, it was approved. And on top of that, in the same meeting, when it was approved, we were discussing the fact that there is a sewer issue, no new constructions without sewers. So how are you getting all those homes that are going to be built there? The apartments going to be built there, going to get sewers. Are we going to bypass that with that approval? And are we going to now have another traffic light there without the traffic study? So that's why I think all of us, really, I don't want to bring up the study anymore because I've heard enough about it. I've been through it multiple times. I've been through it from a data perspective, from a quality perspective. I think we know it's not good. Okay? And thank you for saying out loud that you started from ground zero. I appreciate that. I do, I really do, because it's important. We're not saying it shouldn't be here. If that's what it ends up being, fine. What we want is facts, data, analysis, properly done. To say, here's why I belong to this location or some other location. And we have plenty of other ones.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time here.
Mayor, may I speak? I'm going to speak because that's the heart of.
I know, but
Okay. All of you know the story of Bunker Hill and the traffic light.
actually, I have an update.
Look, yeah, but you all know, and this gentleman came up and said something completely factually incorrect, and we're not going to correct. And I think that feeds into the belief that we're all knuckleheads up here. I am, or we don't know what's going on. So we all know that the traffic light at Bunker Hill, it's not even gone out for design. We have no idea how much it's going to cost. We don't. We've met 5 times with Hopewell and Ewing officials to try and work and address the issue at Federal City Road and have a traffic design studies that happened for Bunker Hill and for Federal Point. Those traffic studies, it was done, it was provided to all of you, and it concluded that that area would benefit from lights from at Bunker Hill and at Federal Point. However, if there was one light that had to be installed, the recommendation was the light at Federal Point. Once that study was done, we approached and shared it with Ewing and Hopewell. And we said, okay, we know that there's 2 lights that are needed. Can we move forward? Ask your elected officials if they will participate in sharing the cost with regard to the design work and cost estimates for both lights. We know the answer. Ewing and Hopewell backed out of the light at Federal Point. Didn't like the decision. Hopewell was right across the street. So we all agree that we need to take care of our residents, our citizens that are at Federal Point. And we decided to move forward with the traffic light at Federal Point. Next meeting, you're going to be asked to vote on a bid package that's going to go out for a company to design and develop a cost analysis for that. So this whole idea that we knew the costs at Bull Run Road and Federal Point, we don't. We haven't even gotten there yet. So I'm not sure about that. And then the last.
Kevin, can I just ask, for Bull Run and Federal City,
Bull Run and Federal City Road, yes.
Was there cooperation from the other townships on that? Would they consider that location?
The elected officials told their business administrators they would not participate with us for Federal Point. They were going to do their own on Bull Run Road.
So they would do a like.
I don't know what the status of what those 2 entities are going to do on Bull Run Road. I've not followed up on that. I'm focusing on our town and providing the best for the residents at Federal Point. So that's all. My only point was this. We had somebody come up and say something about $500,000, and it's not true. We don't know how much it's going to cost. So we're putting the cart before the horse in a lot of these things. And just one other point, Slackwood Firehouse, Lawrence Road Firehouse, Lawrenceville Firehouse, I think they're almost all 100 years old. None of them comply with the federal or state standards when it comes to having an active career firefighter work out of there. That's our problem. We all know this. We know this, right? But an individual is coming up and saying, you got something at Slackwood, you got something at Lawrence Road, and you got something at Lawrenceville. If we build a career staff like we know we have to find a place for them, because there is no place at Slackwood. There is no place at Lawrence Road as it currently exists. And there is no place at Lawrenceville, although they're now sharing with a volunteer fire company. So there's a lot of information that I know that you guys have. And that it's just not the 4 corners of 2 reports. I've been here for 8 years working on this. So it's not all reflected in the reports. The reports serve a purpose. We are nowhere near answering the questions of consolidation, what we need in terms of a building or where it's going to be located. We're in the middle of it right now. And we got $750,000 from the state of New Jersey to help us get to that point. I don't know why it's a negative. It shouldn't be a negative. It's a process that we're going through, and everybody wants answers before we're done with the process. Very frustrating.
And the other point that I would like to make, and just for the public, is that we released the study for the first time at the request of the public in terms of having transparency. So I know that since our last meeting, this is the first time that we're meeting where members of the public have had an opportunity to review that report. So, we are here to listen, and as you said, this is a process that is going to take time and will require input from many people, members of our community, professionals. There's no action that's being taken anytime soon. Am I correct with that?
You're correct. And I have
Very
one more
correct.
point of
Okay,
clarification,
one more.
just so we're all on the same page. 3131, what Princeton Pike.
Mhm.
This council, along with the planning board, was asked to determine whether it was an area in need of redevelopment.
Right.
And that study was done. It has not been presented to the planning board. So there is no studies with regard to traffic. There is no studies with regard to stormwater management. There is no discussion or studies having to do with anything related to the actual construction of the redevelopment project at 3131 Princeton Pike. The proper venue for that is the planning board, and we haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
So it's not like we're looking the other way and saying, hey, go build something there. We haven't even gotten there yet.
It's
That's all.
premature at this time. Correct, thank you. Okay, if we could have your name, please.
Yes, Vicky Russo, 2 Sunset Road. Couldn't make more perfect timing because, Kevin, I wanted to ask you, nothing back, just, nothing
It's
back.
okay.
I'm not like the money person, although I like money, I'm not the money person. And I didn't read the report except for one part that said, that the site was chosen by the, people who wanted the study that they wanted on the corner. That was the only thing I really got out of that. But I'm from New York, we're Queens, have a ton of fire stations. Lived on Mulberry Street over by Halo Farm, really close together to my neighbor's house goes on fire, Slackwood was there within like 30 seconds, saved my house from burning. So I have experience where having something close by. Totally get that they're 100 years old, they've been here serving the community very well, we haven't had any major disasters or anything like that. I think they've done a great job. I mean, part of me says, well, instead of building one site, put some money into fixing up the others. But what I did out of curiosity, nothing bad again, I was my children always say, tell me it's nothing bad. Hamilton has 135 career members and 5 volunteers on duty for 24/7 responding out of 7 stations. Really big township, 7 stations. Ewing, I didn't get how many people they have, but they have 3 stations, Princeton has 2. Listen, if you built it on our corner, we're all good. Like, if there's a fire, we have someone right there. But the concern is the rest of the township and response time and all that stuff. So my thought about career is that you probably could look, like maybe make space somewhere here for like an administration for a fire, and then have career firemen at all the locations so that it could service the whole community. Because what worries me about it being here is like you have Quake Ridge Mall, you have like all the way out, I don't know, is Costco in Lawrence?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Think about all that out there. So like you're right here, you gotta go all the way out there. I'd almost say fix up the fire stations and then put one out there. So, but I get there's a tax thing and some money and whatever, I don't know that. But I'm just saying that that's the biggest concern for me is like, I hate fire and I would have one right in the corner, wouldn't like it. But why, what is wrong with multiple?
Larry, can I answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, listen, first of all, thank you very much. This discourse, I'll take any day of the week, right? You're a resident that has legitimate concerns and you're expressing them, and I appreciate that. Consolidation is a movement that's happening all around the country because it has benefits to taxpayers as well as organizational structure within fire departments and EMS. Consolidation meaning each town was built with a volunteer fire, like so Slackwood was built, and you know what it's for? It's for the people that lived around the Slackwood area. They'd be volunteers and they would serve that firehouse. Lawrence Road, people that lived around the Lawrence Road area, they would do that. Lawrenceville, the same thing. That's how it was back then, right? The trend now is if you, as a community, have 1 or 2 stations that can get within the 5 to 7 minute response time, that is what the target is in terms of responding to fires, then consolidation is something that you could really think about. And the advantages are less apparatus that you have to buy at $1 million, $1.5 million. You can buy them over time, like instead of 20 years. We've got some apparatus that are 17, 20 years old that are breaking down now because we got them out of 3 firehouses. But if you have 1 or 1.5, It's less apparatus that we can buy and keep newer and better and operational on the road. That's just one part of it. So it's all a part of the discussion. Nothing's been resolved, and that Public Safety Committee is going through what's the best for our community, and it could very well be that they recommend you, as the governing body, say, you know what, we're kind of off the consolidation. Let's see what we could do more spread out. But the one thing that people don't really understand is that we are not an island of ourselves, Lawrence Township. We have mutual aid agreements that we share with Trenton, Hamilton, Ewing, Hopewell. So when we have a fire, if we're not able to get out or not getting out in time, Hamilton is here. So in that area near Slackwood, Trenton comes in. Or near West Windsor will come in. And we do the same for them, right? So that's mutual aid. We are not an island of ourselves. So the thought of, ooh, what are we gonna do for the outer reaches of our community during the, what do we have, 4 or 5 active fires a year? I think it's been more recently.
Yeah.
But so that's where mutual aid comes in. So it's just a whole bunch of information that we have to process through to make the best decisions for our community. And that's all on the table, right?
Yeah,
So
I agree, I could see that, but I get the money issue for the equipment, for sure. I don't wanna have to rely on other towns, like if that's just me. I don't wanna rely on other towns. I want Lawrence, if they're gonna do the right thing, if we're gonna spend $30 million on a complex or 20 mil, whatever it is, you want it to be able to handle it on its own. I don't want to have to rely on other towns. They could be having a fire at the same time where they could choose somewhere else. So I think that we should have our own distribution.
Yeah.
But I think most importantly is, like, I've seen these complexes, and there's one on if you go down Clarksville, and maybe that's West Windsor, I'm thinking like that. They have like a massive property. We don't have that here.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna have one, which I think maybe that's what they have, I don't know, it's a massive thing. Like you need to like spread it out, and I bet you they can use that as a community center and administration building, and it doesn't affect any kind of thing. So maybe
we're
it's
a
another
different
site.
community. We're a different community. We've got
Right.
different needs and different things available to us to build our infrastructure.
So I'm just saying, keep in mind the
Absolutely.
multiple, because, honestly, my husband's family's been here for like 80 years. And even though times are changing, it still did a good job. And sometimes if it ain't broke, like, why fix it? But
It's
like,
broke though, so.
well,
you
it's
got-
broke in some ways.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
broke in some ways, but the concept is doable. Maybe it might make more sense money-wise to spend it on multiple than on just one.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
and that's the process, right? And so we're
Right.
not there.
But I mean, the fact that, like, what worries me is that, like, your position of influence and the fact that you want
I
it
don't really have
here.
much influence.
Well, I mean, but if you did, let's pretend.
Yeah.
That concerns me because, again, I showed you the traffic situation and I showed you all that other stuff. It's a worry for our community. In fact, one of our neighbors who moved, she's 98, she moved in 98, she said, well, what's going on in the corner? And I said, well, it hasn't been decided yet. She goes, that would be a shame because it changes the whole landscape now. It becomes more urban than like suburban. So
Yeah,
just,
and the only thing that I'll add, thank you very much for all your comments. It's made in front of the right people, right? This is a conversation that should have happened 10 years ago. It didn't happen.
but
So-
even 10 years ago, I still would've wanted
So
to-
where I'm sitting now, and my responsibilities to this town,
Yeah.
absolutely has to happen. And I'll take the hits for it if that's what has to happen.
Okay.
But, so it's a difficult conversation to get through, but it should have happened a while ago.
We will get there.
Okay, yeah.
Mayor, I have a couple, and thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have a couple questions, just based on all the public participation so far. It's hard to believe we're only into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First, for Councilwoman Perry, how many times has your committee met so far? It just
Mr.
sounds like,
Bucket, I apologize. We gotta have some decorum. I just got the finger pointed at me. And I don't know what community I'm in anymore. I just don't know what community I'm in anymore. And I think there needs to be a level of decorum. And I apologize for interrupting you, but it just deeply offends me that I'm just trying to do my job the best way I know how. And to have somebody give me the finger
No, I didn't see that.
at a meeting is beyond the pale.
That's
with me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just
agree.
not interested in it.
Okay, okay. Members of the audience, let's all work together. I didn't see anything, but, okay.
I saw.
You thought,
They got the finger.
okay,
If you want to know who it is, I'll be more than happy to tell you.
I'm
who it
sure
was.
you will, but we're not,
That's not necessary.
that's not what we're here for. Okay,
All right,
that's
more
not what
than
we're here
happy.
for.
Well, I'd love to finish.
Your question,
Yes.
Councilman Bobbitt.
Two things, from what I'm hearing from the public,
Mhm.
our neighbors, residents, is that there's a concern about the fire study and the review of that.
Mhm.
So I was curious about sort of how many meetings we've had so far and what, it's May now, there's conversations about this back in November. Whether Councilwoman Perry, does her committee have a timeline of any sorts in terms of coming back to council so that we could review and then start to respond to some of these questions?
So as we have discovered, there is more information that we need to gather before we can properly give any report to the township and to council. We have had one meeting that was over 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And just so you know,
Yeah.
the meeting is with decades worth of experience. We have a fire chief, a volunteer, a current career member, a member of our community, and myself, and also the director of our EMS team. So these are all officials who have extensive experience beyond my years. So we have had one meeting, and I vow to you before the end of summer, I'm not gonna make a commitment today because there's a couple of layers that have to happen before we come to you with the first information. So before the end of summer, you will have a report of the first few steps that are necessary. We are so far from even the word not consolidate, way before we get there.
So,
Thank you.
Mayor, can I follow that up also with a question of, as much as I appreciate everyone's conversations, discussions, this should be public comment where we sort of hear from the group and not necessarily have a back and forth. And one of the things I was wondering is, these are public meetings, right? Correct?
The
The
subcommittee
subcommittee,
is not.
no, it is not.
That's a shame because I feel as if this
And,
conversation
sir,
would be so welcome.
No, no. As with any organization, we are not being, we are totally transparent, but for decorum and for the proper protocol and for the process, it needs to be closed. When we present you the recommendations, the council will vote. We are not doing anything in the meeting but discovering the layers of things that should have been done, that were not done, and what needs to be done. And at that point, we will present everything for the council to decide, and then public participation to give us your feedback. And that's the process.
Okay, all right, come forward, please.
And I made one more thing. The reason that's the process is because of the people on the team, members of the community, and no other council member but myself. And I am listening to what they are explaining and recommending, and most importantly, telling me things that, what has happened.
Yeah, information outside of the reports. So we're,
Way
as
outside.
Councilwoman Perry said, starting over, she has to gather as much information as possible so that we can accurately respond to the public and share that information with you. We're committed to doing that.
I'm Jim Cleek. I really, that last lady kind of stole most of my thunder. Hearing all this, I looked at the report the best I could, but I don't claim any real no expertise, and I don't claim to have even read the whole thing. But and I know there are people here who have expertise, but I can imagine that, like Kevin said, I guess this should have started years ago, and I'm sure even though I come to meetings religiously, I didn't really pick up on it until the less than a year, I guess. And I guess, and I can understand completely Kevin's frustration. Like, what do you pay me for if you're going to come up and tell me that you know better than me on all the things that I've really studied? And from on the other hand, from some of us, it felt like, to tell you the truth, that the decision had already been made and we were just going through the motions. But that's probably
Not the case.
No.
And I certainly think that we should back up and kind of acknowledge that everybody here, I'm probably naive, but that everybody here wants to do the right thing. And I've also looked at places like Princeton, where they built the big police and fire places right out there on 206, right? United, kind of like what we're talking about, like we should have here. On the other hand, like the lady said, Hamilton and Ewing have different setups. I guess that the trend, according to what Kevin's saying, and I'm sure it must be true, is that the trend is for consolidation. And certainly it's the need for lots more paid firefighters is a given. We have things like the good old rubber or something that happened in the middle of the night, and we have people on from 8 to 4 on Monday to Friday. Instead, all the volunteers and all the people from all the surrounding area are out there for 17 hours, I think, fighting that thing. And it's true, everybody came to help, but there's still always going to be some of that, I guess. We do it in other places, but that certainly is a demonstration. God forbid that had been a residential complex or something. And so I came, at first I thought, and now the more I hear about it, the more I think that all I ask is that we consider the different options. I heard when the fire commissioner, or what it was, came in here and gave his report for his budget. He talked about how, as you said, none of the existing departments are up to snuff. They're old, and they're unsuitable for female firefighters. That's just a number of things, I guess. So to get that, to build a new unit is going to, I guess one of the things we're going to find out is how much that will cost. Certainly a lot, but on the other hand, to improve the existing ones would also cost a lot, and both of them are going to require new equipment. When I say improve the existing ones, I'm saying if it's to at least not reject that possibility out of hand, and hiring enough firefighters to man all that. Now you have to weigh that against how many firefighters you need here, probably more. And every one of them is not just salaries, it's benefits and retirement and all that, but just not to, I'm just saying that asking if we can at least consider that possibility, because while there's a lot of examples you can see about the United ones, you can also see the examples of ones that are decentralized. And now if you expanded them, is there the space there? What's it going to require and all kind of, but on the other hand, I see Slackwood, for example, which I think is the only one we own. I keep thinking all those houses down there that are close together, we all keep saying the same thing all the time. When one fire's there, they need it, people to get there quick. And on the other hand, up here, it's expanding, this is the area, part of the township that has grown a lot. So I'm just saying, well,
We're here.
I'm just, even though I know it must be frustrating to be saying at this point, take longer, but that's what I'm saying is don't make any decisions.
We would not make any rush decisions. Thank you. All right, with that, okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Do we need to sign in again?
Yeah. Okay. You just have to be brief because it's your second round. Okay.
Hello, Doctor, again. Where I work, so my man Jim back there said, assume best intent. Where I work, we have a value called lightfulness, and that means always assume best intent. I shouted earlier, Kevin, this is not the school year, and I apologize for shouting at you. But let me ask you a question. So consolidation, benefits, sure. I've never seen anybody ask the question of like, what if we need 4 firehouses? What if it is just 1? What if it's 3? Where does it need to go? Like, the whole problem right now is under the assumption of like, they have to go where they are, or they have to get, like, some have to go, and then we like replace it with 1. There's 1 plan that we're evaluating. Right, so the subcommittee, how many firehouses do we need?
That is what we're going to find out.
That's what you're gonna find out, how many firehouses we need?
We have to do all of that due diligence and question and
That will be
research.
awesome to see. Can I just have a verbal confirmation that everybody will receive a copy of that report,
I'm
that
sure.
information from Virginia?
We appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Okay. All right, with that, we will close public comment. And we to review any revisions to the agenda. I don't believe there are any. And-
Mayor, if I could ask the attorney, do we need to close session?
I don't,
No,
no, we didn't advertise for closed
Okay.
sessions, so we're okay.
I just saw on H4 that
Yeah.
it's necessary, so I'll remove that. Thank you.
okay. And we do not have any minutes, right, to adopt in this one. Okay. Awarding of project bids, okay.
Madam Mayor, if we are ready, I would like to move ordinance number 2472-24, an ordinance amending ordinance 2464-24, salary ordinance of the Township of Lawrence, unclassified and/or exempt seasonal emergency non-union employees for 2023 through 2025, amending Schedule B, grade 4 years 2024 and 2025, condensing from 11 steps to 6 steps. I move to table this ordinance.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Bobbitt,
No.
Mr. Kaneki,
No.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mayor Farmer.
Yes.
Mayor, if I may, since we sort of skipped over conversation and we went right to the vote, can I ask the reason why? Is there more information that the councilwoman needs about?
Mayor,
Yes,
I had a question on that. There was a steps to take on that, and also in the salaries, there's gosh on that.
And may I ask a simple question?
You want me to answer, or you?
Yeah,
Good?
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, finish your thoughts, sir.
No, like on grade 19, we have it down as deputy municipal clerk at 70, moving them up to 70. We don't even have a deputy municipal clerk on here.
we just said, I know me personally, I have some additional questions.
And so I'll ask one last question, and then we can move on if that's all right with you, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
One question I have is that we typically receive the books Friday afternoon.
I know.
And so I'm just wondering why no questions were asked of the municipal manager either over the weekend or
How do you know
Monday
that there
or
weren't?
Monday or Tuesday.
Do you know that there weren't?
The Councilman Ryan just said that he had questions about the salary ordinance, and I'm just curious why no questions were asked or answered, and you also just mentioned that you have questions about.
Yeah, I have additional.
And so I was just, so my question then, my follow-up question, Councilman Book, and I'll finish after that, is do you plan on asking these questions before our next meeting so that you can have the answers so that we can then introduce this ordinance in a timely fashion?
Absolutely, on my behalf.
My questions I will ask also.
Mayor, point of order, is this going for a date certain to the next meeting, or is it just held in advance?
Date certain to the next meeting if the questions are resolved.
Okay,
It would be
So-
June 18th.
just so it's clear for the clerk that
Yes.
this will be at the next meeting.
And
Were the questions submitted?
Mayor,
May I say something?
I'm not doing it on this dais right now. I'd like to make it, go
Mayor,
ahead.
can I ask one last question? And we all understand that this is merely the introduction of an ordinance, that there would be a second reading before it's adopted, so that we would have time to ask the questions?
Councilman Bobbitt, I'm gonna ask that you respect our votes.
No, I'm just asking that question, that's all.
We're gonna table this until the next meeting.
Understood, that already passed.
Okay, thank you.
So I just was asking the question.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to move ordinance number 246824, ordinance providing for various road improvements, mill and overlay, including all work and materials, and in the town, by the Township of Lawrence in the County of Mercer, New Jersey, appropriating $3,069,180 in capital improvement funds.
Is there any questions from the public with regards to this ordinance?
Need a second.
All right, may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Did you close?
Closing ordinance number 2468-24.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kaneki,
Yes.
Ms. Perry,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mayor Farmer.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to move ordinance number 246924, ordinance appropriating $1,451,145 from capital improvement funds for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Lawrence in the County of Mercer, New Jersey. May I have
A second, please?
Second.
Is there?
Mayor, before that, I just have a couple of questions on that. Is this for the police department with 151,000? It says the body cameras, is that just for the police department? That's not for public works inspectors, nor the code enforcement?
It's the police.
It's just the police department and the police vehicles. Now also, why do they need a signage? Is that a sign that they tow behind the vehicle, Mr. Nowinski?
What was the question?
There's a sign that's being requested.
There's signage in there that the police are requesting for, so you're not aware of that?
This, just so everybody is aware, we've had
It's a
this
message
issue
board.
before, but this is a capital funding mechanism. It's already been approved in the budget. It's already been approved.
This is for
So
adopted.
this is in performance of what you've all approved. I just want that to be clear. So,
No, that
and this
was-
is not a purchase of anything. This is a funding, so it's gonna go out for.
Right, that was an introduction.
Right.
Right,
It's
this is
gonna
an
go out, and
adoption.
they're gonna do the cost
Correct.
analysis. These are all estimated things.
No, sorry, I understand that, but my question was, for the 151,000 acquisition of public consistent for the body vehicle cameras, to clarify, I have no problem with everything else on this. I just have questions on this. It's not for police, only for police use, not public works, inspectors, or code enforcement or anything like that on that. And then also, we have 2 message boards, correct? For public works, and we need a third for just the police?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what, like 39,000 for that?
This is just an estimate.
An estimate, okay.
Okay. That's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions from the public regarding this ordinance? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please. And I'm closing out ordinance number 2469-24.
Mr. Bobbin? Yes. Mr. Kanaki?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, would like to make a motion to move ordinance number 2470-24, ordinance amending the land use ordinance of the Township of Lawrence to revise section 522 drainage and stormwater management.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any questions on this ordinance from the public? Okay.
I think we saw you last night.
Yes.
Yes. Who's going to speak to this one? Go right ahead. I'll let the expert speak on this one. Oh, I know.
Very informative.
I hope so.
Signing in, but I'm not sure anyone will be able to read it.
I'll let her know what you are.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Pissarro. I am the policy director for the Watershed Institute. If many of you don't know, we are in Hopewell Township, serving 30 communities throughout central Jersey and the state. We've been working on stormwater. I've been working on it for at least 10 years now. And we've been meeting over the last several years, including Lawrence, on enhancing our ability to manage stormwater. As we all know, all of our communities are experiencing flooding in a more significant way, and it's just going to get worse. The way we manage stormwater today doesn't address it. It is sort of a baseline that hopefully doesn't get things that much worse, but things are getting worse. It sort of tries to minimize the worsening, which is probably not the most eloquent thing I could say. But we've been working with communities over the last 4 or 5 years to enhance our ability to do stormwater management. And I realize the township is under a deadline to adopt this ordinance and because of the inland flood protection rules. We met, Annette and I met with Jim Parvise and Brenda Kramer last week to talk about opportunities to enhance. And one of the things that was suggested is maybe pulling together a committee of interested people to look at it so that over the next several months, Lawrence can consider enhancements so that we can better protect our communities, reduce water pollution, and hopefully reduce flooding. I think this is extremely important. I would urge the township to do that. And I also would, two other things. The township is under a legal mandate under our municipal separate storm sewer system permit, MS4, to come up with a plan to reduce that flooding and improve water quality. You have until 2027 to do that. Taking opportunities through development process to improve water quality and reduce flooding makes sense. Otherwise, the town is going to have to come up with projects to do that. So why not take the opportunities as we develop and redevelop to make those improvements? So that is one, and one of the reasons to do the enhancement. The second, and we sent, you all probably should have got a letter at the beginning of this year talking about the Watershed Institute. One of the other things Brenda and Jim has been participating, and Councilman Bonnet has as well on occasion, is a meeting of the Stony Brook watershed towns. We all share the Stony Brook. It runs into Carnegie Lake around, Route 1. We all know Route 1 floods occasionally. As part of this process to improve water quality, you have to look at the Stony Brook, you have to look at the Assunpink. The towns are starting to come together and talk about sharing those resources, developing a common plan. We have a proposal from a consultant to develop that plan and to help the communities. So I would encourage the council to look at that as well. I'd be more than happy to sit down with anyone who's interested in talking about stormwater. And I would appreciate it.
Ditto.
I take you up on that offer.
Yeah.
I'm going to come visit the watershed.
All right, yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Closing that. No, okay. No, I just want to, we close that motion. Did we voted on it? I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
stormwater, we voted?
No,
Not yet. Okay. Closing ordinance number 2470-24. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to move ordinance 2471-24, ordinance providing for sidewalk improvements and by the Township in the County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, appropriating $700 therefore, and directing the special assessment of the cost thereof.
You have a second?
My apologies, Mayor. Second?
Okay, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, I'm closing ordinance number 2471-24. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes. And now this brings us to the manager's report.
Yeah. First, I want, for Mr. Ryan, I had a question about the salary ordinance. I just wanted you to know that this is a salary guide. These are titles and steps and salary. So when you mentioned that we didn't have a certain person, but it's here, that's throughout here, because these are just titles. And if and when we have an assistant municipal clerk, then we're ready to go for that. So these aren't people,
Okay.
these are titles, and these are salaries, and I will just reaffirm with all of you. Ms. Perry, you always ask questions beforehand, so so if for whatever reason something came up at the last minute, that's completely fine. But to all of you, for the appearance in the public and all that, I am here for you Monday through Monday, right? If you have a question, I will answer it for you. If I don't know it off the top of my head, I will get you the answer. So when we come to do business, like setting the salary for a municipal judge who's in place and is expecting to be paid, you'll get your answer and then we can move forward. Like this introduction is just an introduction. So it's just something that I can get you that information and we continue with the process of moving this town operationally in a very functional way. So I just wanted to just remind
And
you.
I'll make a comment because, yes, Mr. Nowinski, you have been very available to us, especially to Councilwoman Perry and myself who are new to the council. And whenever we have a question, you absolutely are there to answer.
And so, yeah, so you guys send me your questions about it and hopefully we can get this going. And I don't know what the ramification is about paying the judge, but we hope it's not too hard.
But just to that point, because you're saying that this is related to the municipal
Judge salary, yeah.
So what is all of the other listings that are on there?
That's a salary guide. That's just the
So
township
it's-
salary guide, and it lists all the positions and titles. Some of them are filled, some of them are not filled, but if we do fill them, then they're there, and we know what the salaries, and we're able to present offers to people that say, here, this is the salary, this is how you'll grow over the 7, 10, 12 steps, or whatever it is. So that's just a guide, and what the manager is supposed to do, the CEO, it sets the salary guides for unclassified individuals. Like, since we began in 1971. So when I looked at this, and I looked at what the shift in the municipal court's work and caseload and how the process has streamlined and reduced, I felt it was necessary and appropriate to reduce the step guide because it's no longer the really busy court that it was before. It's just not. And so that's fiscal responsibility on my part, but I'll answer all your questions and hopefully we get this going the next time.
But we just want to be
Yeah, that's fine.
informed, educated about what we're doing. We just don't
And I just wanted you to know, we did get our
audit.
annual comprehensive financial report ending 2023. I've gave you each a copy for you to review. At your leisure, if anything comes up, it's a really good document to reference and save. No negative reporting. Again, our finances are always in excellent
Thank you for this.
shape. So Peter Kiriakakis does a wonderful job, and our audit is fine. So I give this to
My
Art.
bedtime reading.
I know, Councilor Perry probably really enjoy this revival.
And one final thing, the light at Federal Point. Our municipal engineer has completed the bid spec, and it will be presented to you all for a vote at the next council meeting. What that will do is, if you pass it, it goes out to a bid. We get proposals back, and then we're able to select a responsible professional vendor who will then do the design and cost work that we need to determine how we're going to budget this for 2025.
Okay,
Thank
And that's
you.
all I have.
2025.
That's the next budget.
Well, yeah. Okay. Do
But
we-
we're expediting it, and I may come back to you in September and say, hey, we're ready to roll. We could do some transferring and get this done, but I just didn't want to set expectations at a level,
Sounds good.
so I know it's needed, and we need to get it done, and we're expediting it as much as we
And
can.
every time I ride past there, I think about it.
That's all I have.
Mr. Sackett, do you have anything?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor, this may, at a future meeting, be a topic of a closed session, but I just received a email and had a phone call today from an attorney. Apparently, our offer on the property on Route 206 and Altamar Avenue has been accepted. At the number that we suggested, and then our realtor's opinion of value suggested. And we will be going to a contract. I spoke briefly to the attorney, and we will be, preparing the necessary documents. Probably at the next closed session, we'll go into some of the nitty-gritty of that, but I was very, very pleased
Thank
to
you.
see the results of our work. And I think we didn't go through the expense, time, aggravation of full appraisal. We got a broker's opinion of value, and that seemed to push it over the edge and saved, I guess it was what, $42,000. So I think that's going to be a good acquisition for the town, and we'll, as they say, more to follow. And we have some new, actually one thing came in today in terms of litigation that we cannot discuss in public, nothing onerous, but we will have a closed session on that at the next meeting also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sackett. Madam Clerk, do you have anything for us?
I do. I have a few things. I have to type it out. Alrighty, so we know that by the time I see you next time, elections will be over. So June 4th is primary election. Polling is 6 to 8, you know that. Early voting will start May 29th through June 2nd. That's Wednesday through Saturday, it will be open 10 to 8. Our polling site is right at the Lawrence Library there, Mercer County Library. Okay, let's see. And they do have some sites throughout the county that you can vote at any one of those. Let's see. Sample ballots will be going out tomorrow. That's the official day, but our county clerk is great. She may have already started sending them out. Okay, mailing those out. They will look a little bit different, so.
Yes, they will.
So, okay, to say the least. So if you give your calls, they're, in the block form for the Democrats at the top, so, that, I just be mindful of that. May 28th is the deadline. May 28th is the deadline for the mailing ballots. After that, you have to apply in person at the county clerk's office. Let's see. And the districts are gonna, for that district 10, the ballots for District 10. Pay attention, that ballot, District 10 is 21, and District 10 was merged into District 9. So that will be on the ballot. And District 21 was renamed to District 10 with the redistricting that we did. So some people will be a little bit confused by it, but we'll be here to help anyone. We'll be here. Okay. Oprah. My staff and Peter and I, we met with, not met with them, but we did it online with the representative, Josh Taylor from Civics Plus. We're looking into getting an Oprah program. You all know that the Oprah is a big thing right now. It's called Next Request. We did a demo. It's a great program. It will come under our $6,600 threshold for now, but each year it will be a $10,000 thing. But at this time, this is something that we need for our office to be a little more efficient. Let's see right here. And then, speaking of that, we have a resolution on 218-24. As you know, that the modernization of was passed in the Senate and the Assembly, and it is on the governor's desk for signature. But we didn't get our resolution in time enough to get it for last meeting, but I felt like it should be on so they can know that we support this. It's something that's long overdue. So I hope you support it. And let's see, summer schedule starts. June, July meetings they will start at 6:00 p.m. And that is about it. Our plans over the summer, we'll get caught up on some of our backlog, and we're going to start our record management project, digitizing some of our records.
Okay. Do we have any unfinished business? Okay. Okay, new business?
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion or a proposal for a Juneteenth celebration here in Lawrence Township. That would be in our front lawn, celebrating this very monumentous event. The proposal is to have a speaker, breakfast, some community organization tables, and that it would be on June 18th, approximately 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'd like to make a motion for that.
Okay. So how it goes? Do we have a second?
Second.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, now that it's open, is this coming from you as a councilwoman? Is it coming from DEI committee? Is it coming from the rec committee? I'm just trying to understand, where is this coming from?
It's coming from me as the councilwoman.
Okay, no, that's fine. And sort of, and I'll ask the manager then, do we have funding available for this? Do we have any sort of budget right now for this or anything like that?
We will make it happen if it's the will of the council to do it.
No, I'm just trying to be, I'm just trying to be
This
fiscally
event
responsible,
itself-
not overpromise and underdeliver anything like
Yeah,
that. So-
I mean, listen, it's new business. We'll go through it. We gotta actually
And have the
Quickly.
input.
have it done quickly, so we'll.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, we're under a month now, so.
And I believe,
And salmon and lox and all that?
Yeah.
No.
Mayor, I believe the councilwoman has to fill out a form if we're bringing food.
Yeah,
We'll go through the
we'll
whole,
the whole
yeah.
process. Who's on the DEI committee here? Is
Me.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you getting meeting soon?
We have that once. I can call a meeting.
Yeah, I think it would be a really good idea to do that, just to have that support.
Absolutely.
This is
Yeah.
a,
She definitely has.
Councilwoman Berry initiative, but let's see if the DEI can support it, and that
Yeah.
could be where funding can come from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
I hear what you're saying.
I just wanted to bring it out to my fellow council members for their
The full body.
support, the
Yes.
full body, and we can all participate together to make it happen.
Absolutely.
All right, wonderful, thanks for the answers, appreciate it.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have. my marching order or something.
I don't think you need a vote.
Yeah.
No, we don't need to go, okay. All right. Let's see, public participation, second time, we have a 3-minute limit for any speakers. No, I just want to, if I may take mayoral, what do you call it? Action prerogative. I just want to shout out, I think that's the baseball folks in the back there.
I think
Yeah,
they left.
and I just want to say thank you for coming. I didn't get to throw that ball out, so I'm still feeling. I'm all practiced and ready to go, so.
If we win the states, we'll bring it back.
Okay. All right. Is there any other public participation? Seeing none? All right, we'll close it out. All right.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to move in block Resolution 18A through H4, excluding F2 and H3.
Okay, do I have a second?
Excuse me. 4,
Second.
there's no 4 on there.
4 is, we
Yeah.
don't have.
4 is just only if it's necessary.
Only, okay,
H3.
so
Okay, take that up.
for protocol, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to move in block 18A through H3, excluding F2 and H3.
I'll second that.
Okay. Ready to discuss, okay. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to discuss F2, to move F2.
Do you have a second?
Mayor, I'll second it. Thank you.
Okay, and have a discussion.
Council,
Yes.
Okay,
you,
F2.
you,
The floor
you
is
move for
yours.
discussion,
No.
is it?
John, will you go ahead?
Oh, yes, yes,
F2.
The three of you, yeah, sorry.
That's fine. I'll take it, Councilman Bluff. Thank you so much for your input. This question is really, I guess, for Mr. Sypak.
Yes.
The litigation of Capone,
Yes,
with that's Eckert Seaman
yes.
on it, which we're doing, do you know, I mean, how long are we into this? Do you know? And do you have any ballpark of what we spent with Eckert Seaman last year by any
I
chance?
do not, I would not know. We,
Can you find out for us and get back to us then?
yeah, I'll ask Mr. Nowinski to, that's beyond my ability to get that. There's activity on the case, it's not a whole lot we can say in public right now, but there's movement on the case. I think there'll be some activity sooner than later. I think we'll be able, in a position to give you a better understanding of what's happening well before the end of summer.
Okay, thank you, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
You're
all
welcome.
right, no discussion, okay, we have the motion and the second on the floor, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Bobbitt?
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes. Okay, and now for H3.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to table H3.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, with the motion and the second, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Bobbitt?
May I add one point of the conversation to Mr. Sypek's concern? Is this a motion to table to a date certain, to the next, or are we just tabling it, or should we
For
just?
the next meeting, we would like to review it in further detail with Mr. Sypek.
H3?
H3.
I believe it's still on the governor's desk and.
On the governor's desk.
And he's gonna tweak it a little bit, so I think it's prudent that we wait on and see where it's going on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's was passed by the Senate. and the
Correct, the assembly, yeah.
So
Right.
once it's fine, yeah.
And my apologies for asking a question, then confusing myself. Is this are we voting on a motion to table this to the next meeting?
Yes, Mr. Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Bobbitt?
No.
Mr. Kanaki?
Yes.
Ms. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Farmer?
Yes. Okay. Now we have our council initiatives and liaison reports. Who would like to go first? Do we have any updates on Elsa?
Just a reminder for council, is Memorial Day Saturday. The parade kicks off at 10. Council's all invited. Mayor, we ask you to walk.
I'll be there.
And we will introduce you at the service to speak. All right, briefly. And then we're moving with the service, but 10 o'clock sharp, it gets kicked off.
It's, you show up 9 o'clock at the high school though, right?
9:30.
9:30.
9:30.
It went out at 9 o'clock.
Right.
I read it.
9 o'clock, right?
9 o'clock,
It
they're
takes a
gonna
while,
start.
everything gets.
I guess
Yes,
they start at
It kicks off
4:04, they come
that.
over, and then they go ahead from
Yeah.
there.
It's not my first rodeo, okay.
All right, so 9 o'clock at the high school.
You got that, right?
We'll coordinate our outfits, okay. All right, with that, Councilwoman Perry, is there anything additional you'd like to comment on?
Okay, no update currently on the growth and redevelopment. They are working on some things that I will share in the next meeting. And just final word, thank you for all the comments on the public safety report. And believe me, I hear you, and we do not take it lightly. And we thank you for your support and your patience.
Councilman Bobbitt, do you have any updates on your committees?
Yeah, I just would like to say, environmental resources,
Excuse me, sorry.
is definitely very active with the stormwater management stuff to what Mr. Pizarro was saying for the watershed. So we will continue to look at that and probably bring something forward to planning board, I'm assuming, to and have other conversations. So stay tuned on that.
Councilman Bobbitt, may I ask, what role do you think council should play with that?
I think it's more, my understanding is it's more a planning board issue right now. I will speak with the environmental green committee and sort of touch base with them, as well as speak with Mr. Pizarro and Mr. Parvis about that as well. So.
Okay, Councilman Ryan, do you have any updates?
No, Mayor, thank you so much.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Sure.
follow up. Today at our board meeting, Councilman Ryan couldn't make it, but 12 homes were approved, single-family homes.
Doctor's appointment. Sorry, I
You're
called.
excused, okay.
Yes.
And then there's a meeting coming up with the construction board with DEP. And we feel it's gonna be what we call our marching orders. They're gonna tell us what we gotta do and what time we gotta get it done in. It's supposed to be scheduled for May 31st, but Bob was supposed to get it confirmed, today or tomorrow to confirm it for us.
So when do you think we should have, the executive director from Elsa come back to the board, to the council, for any updates? Do you think there's a need or,
For DEP?
for Bob to come before us again, to give us an update?
Well, Bob's coming in front of you next month
Okay, so that's good.
on the Colonial Lakeland pipe work.
Oh, okay. That's
Okay.
right.
I don't think we'll have answers in time,
Okay,
all right, because it's going to depend what DEP tells us.
okay.
It's scheduled for the 31st. but we're not
Kevin's
sure.
outside. Kevin's at the door. Sorry.
The 12, you said there were 12 homes approved
Yes,
in Lawrence or?
single, yeah, no, this is for Lawrence.
For Lawrence,
12
okay.
single-family homes were approved.
Okay,
Just getting your serious.
okay.
I forgot to say that.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
Madam Clerk, would you mind sending out, I don't know whether you have to block forward to also for the June 18th? An email before council, if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
To remind them.
Yeah, I forgot about the colonial like this. Okay, and then planning board did meet yesterday. We are still waiting to secure the location for our community meetings. I am hoping that the next time I'm here, I'll be able to share with you those dates, which they should have available to us. That's the opportunity for the public to engage with the planning board on the master plan review. We're going out into the community and asking for your support, similar to, that's a public opportunity for those that are even talking about the fire studies and all those things. That's, again, an opportunity. DEI committee met via Zoom, and we had a civil rights speaker to talk about some additional information to share with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. That's all I have. Written communication, do we have any?
No.
Okay. We're not having an executive session, so this brings us to the point in the meeting for a request for an adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, may I have a request? I may have a motion to
I'll second.
to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you so much to the public for coming out. We appreciate all of your input today. It's very helpful.
So, I have a question. Juneteenth, we're gonna have something out front.
Yes.
You guys got it?
We will provide more information once we sit down and go over the plan and everything.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, definitely.
We're on paper.
Yes.
Eric, how you making out, all right?
I'm good.
Good. You still doing your gig?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, question for you. I got
Hold on.
distracted.
Hold on 1 second. The owl's still on. The owl's still live?
Yes.
Owl's still alive? The owl. The eyes are on.
He's looking at me.
I got distracted when you were talking.
The owl's